Fuck the police. Okay, thanks for that, Viv. Okay, let's just sort everything. Sorry, bear with. How's everybody doing? Well, you can hang out instead. I am going to ask them if they're okay with chat questions, so there is that. Hi, Aeronaut Kai Stan. Welcome in, welcome in. It's nice to see everybody. I'm glad you're all here. There is a small amount of background noise because my other half is desperately trying to get the baby to sleep in the other room and he is not playing ball. Let me turn off my camera because we're going to want that on Discord. Boop. Okay. Yeah, I did. I did indeed change my hair. How's everybody doing? Just waiting for Jim to give me the all clear. And then we're good to go. Oh dear, baby crying. Okay, let's go. Doop and doop. Oh no. Why is my camera not working? Stupid. Hang on just a second, Jim. I'm having minor technical issues with my bloomin' camera.
No problem.
Bloody cocking Discord. Okay, let's try that again now that I've do that. Okay, hopefully we'll work this time. Why? Why does Discord hate me? I've deactivated it on there. Okay. Technology doesn't like me. I apologise for this.
Oh, it's fine. I have the worst time with technology.
Ha! Success. Okay. You don't have to turn yours on if you don't want to, but if you want to, that's also fine.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't prepared. I haven't got my face on.
Oh, you're alright.
Mm.
I love that. I love the tweet. And you can watch it even. That's
well, I mean,
me levels
sometimes they don't know.
Well, yeah, there is that.
It's like, oh, there's a good stream. I wish I could watch it. And then if I just let them know that it's okay, that I said it's okay, then they might think, well, sure, I'll take a punt on that.
I do wonder if people have brains sometimes.
Well, I put myself in the same bracket. I can be led to water like a horse, but can't eat it like a horse. Not that good with metaphors.
Yeah, you're really good during Gymquisition. I suppose that's the fun of scripting, isn't it?
Yeah.
We
script everything right down to the tiniest detail. We spare no expense.
Oh yeah, I've got some
time.
I've got some friends who are smaller YouTubers who script their videos because it works out easier, right?
Yeah.
And I had to help a friend with a script he did recently about sex work because I'm a former sex worker myself. So I fact checked some stuff for him and what have you. And trawling through a script for edits, holy fuck. Migraine inducing and utterly mind numbing.
Yeah, I've never been good at the editing bit. I like to edit video because there's colours and shapes, but I can't concentrate I was a terrible proofreader, just because I couldn't focus on it. Look what Discord's done to my picture. It's put it on its side.
It has.
I didn't do that.
That's a...
It makes me look like a fool. It makes me look like a court jester of the realm. A rubbish one.
It's all right.
Can I swear on this one?
Yes, Discord is the
Right,
boomer
a
here,
shit
not
one.
you.
Shit jester.
Discord is the boomer here, not you.
Yep, stupid Discord idiot.
Well, I do have something.
What am I sending you to edit, Conrad? Sorry, Conrad's in the chat saying I'm meant to send him stuff to edit.
You're all right.
Ain't got nothing to edit anymore.
I don't know if
Actually, it might be a good idea to have Conrad look at my script for the Gymquisition. And he can tell me all the bits I got wrong. He's good at that.
Oh, if only.
That sounded backhanded, like I was good at telling me where I'm wrong. No, I mean he's good at
being correct,
letting me know if I'm on the right track with things, or if there's something that might need correcting or tweaking. He's very good with his feedback.
I really liked the one, not the last one, but the one before, where you tried to not be political.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
I got lost like halfway through. My brain got lost halfway through, and I was just like, "Nope, I am not keeping up with this anymore."
Yeah, it gets a little
meta.
Yeah, a little frenetic at the end and everything. It turned out pretty much how I wanted it to, so that was good. Justin did a really good job with some of the edits there. The whole bit in space was exactly what I wanted.
It was damn good.
The only way it could have been better, and I didn't give us enough time for it, would be to have my head superimposed on a little tiny body just floating around in space. I think that's the only thing that could have improved it, but some of my best ideas happen hours before the video goes up, so I can't do it.
Yeah, I understand. This is why I stream, because I don't have the brain for scripts. At all. If I would try and do scripted videos, I would zone out halfway through, I'd fucking jump about all over the place, and then I'd be like, this is garbage. I'm not recording this, it's utter shit. And then on top of that, I am really, really, really bad at editing videos. I'm trying to edit like some of my VODs of like panels and stuff that I do, and like political commentary and stuff to put up on YouTube, and I'm just sitting there looking at the VODs in my on my hard disk going, I'll get to that eventually, but I'm fucked if I'm doing it now.
How long have you been doing the video editing? Because I'm still rubbish.
Yeah, I haven't been doing it very long, only a couple of months maybe, and even then I've only done like 2 or 3 videos.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'll get better at that. Like I'm naturally rubbish at editing, but I'm decent now. Like I can't do tricks like Justin does, but you know, the little breaks and things I edit for the streams I do, and I do some editing over Justin's at points as well, and do simple stuff. But you get a feel for like good timing and when to cut and stuff, and that to me is the bit I love about editing, is just the magic it can do. I always remember the Dawn of the Dead. What George Romero did was he just filmed a load of shit. He just went hog wild in a shopping mall. Just let Tom Savini run around, just blowing up heads and riding motorbikes, and then just edit it all down into a film that could be understood. And that I really like that approach of just filming a load of shit and making it work in the edit, which we've gotten pretty decent at.
Do you ever
Do stop me if I'm just running my mouth.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I bang on.
Not at all. To be honest, I am enraptured with every second you're saying, because I'm actually really interested in the YouTube process, because it's something I can't wrap my head around to do.
Oh, I can't. I mean, let's not pretend I'm an expert. The only rule I know on YouTube is to be popular enough to where you can get away with anything.
How much of your popularity do you think is your smart mouth and the British sense of humour, though?
Well, you know, I'm just saying, if I went to where a lot of people like killed themselves looking for a dead body, right? Do you think that'd push me past that million mark? Because it seems to do well for some people. Get away with not murder, but like
No.
and get away with looking for bodies to poke with sticks. I'm not bitter about YouTube.
You promise?
And
Yeah.
just how it, you know, completely fucked me over. No, I mean I joke about it a lot because partially I'm terminally self-deprecating, and
It's a British
I
thing, though,
do.
isn't it?
Well, partly it's the usual British self-loathing with a little special blend that I've added myself, a little home-cooked recipe of particular imposter syndrome and self-criticism. Now, which track was I on when I was talking? This will be a problem for you. I've got a tendency to start sentences and then
Go
run
off on
my
a
mouth
tangent.
until I forgot completely what I'm talking about. Now, not only have I forgotten what sentence I was on, I've completely forgotten the subject because
You
now I'm
said
talking about
you weren't
this.
sure whether or not really going for it would push you over the million mark.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's the thing I'm on. Brilliant. Thank you.
You're right.
Um, yeah. So even though I make a lot of jokes about the YouTube thing, I'm sort of over it. Conrad and Justin will be able to tell you how much I would stress about work and feeling like if the channel itself wasn't going well, then business-wise things would be in trouble. But it's just not true. As YouTube has been tanking my views, as it's just been, you know, pushed down and people can't get the bloody thing recommended.
I get your videos recommended all the time.
You're one of the rare ones. There are a few people that do get them, but like Justin can't get them, and he works on the show. But it'll, you know, tell him that Ben Shapiro's well worth checking out.
Oh, God. Oh,
The
no.
algorithm's all over the place.
Oh, it's so broken. You cannot even, like, watch a Twitch streamer watching something without it then popping up in your recommendeds.
Yeah.
So for me, being a political streamer, if I watch one of my friends who's like a colleague and is watching a Ben Shapiro video or a Steven Crowder video or a Sargon of Akkad video, boom, they're all up in my recommendations, and I'm like, that's a month of my YouTube just gone.
It's a problem, isn't it? I mean, that's everywhere now, though. The algorithm is everywhere. I almost said out loud, "Welcome to the machine," like some sort of complete prick, and I'm glad I didn't do that.
I
You know,
mean,
that
welcome to
would have just
capitalism,
made
maybe.
me another brick in the wall, you know.
Oh,
So,
Jesus. Welcome to
Pardon?
capitalism, maybe.
Yeah, welcome to capitalism. Population, everyone,
Yup.
even if they're not in it, because it'll fuck them over some other way. Anyway, I forgot what I was talking about. Right. Yes. So I used to stress about work, but as YouTube sort of suppressed the channel, Patreon has had a bump up as people who do still find the channel have really liked a lot of the stuff we've done this year. And I'm really proud of, especially the past couple ones, I'm really proud of the videos we've done. So creatively, I've been more satisfied with the show lately, and Twitch has been a good thing. I like the idea of building something again and going up. And as I said, like the Patreon support's gone up as the YouTube views have gone down, so they're not even connected. And that helped me just sort of not work every day. A lot of people who follow the channel a lot will have noticed that I'm doing fewer videos. Some of it was just I've been taking a bit of an actual break, but a lot of it is I'm learning not work every single day.
Yeah, you
and
need to
just
take that break, otherwise you're just going to burn yourself out.
Plus, I've just got, you know, a lot of other things to focus on that isn't just work. So, you know, a lot of things to be getting on with, which is nice.
Yeah. And I'm really glad that like you're finding more things outside of YouTube and stuff, and you're like, because I watched you initially announce your bit coming out, right? And then like I've watched some of your streams, as you know, and I've seen you like slowly become kind of happier and happier in like an obvious way, not just saying you are.
Yeah.
And appearing happier and appearing healthier because you're happier. And that's been really lovely to watch.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been really good the past couple months. I mean, I've got my moments. I mean, there's various mental health things that sometimes just keep you feeling like crap. But when I'm not in those moments, I've been way more comfortable with myself and way less self-conscious and trying to hide and stuff, and surprisingly confident surprisingly quickly in terms of presentation and stuff. I still sort of dress down a bit when I go outside,
Oh, that's normal.
but I'm still, I'm not just wearing the black t-shirt and maybe a hoodie and black pants, just completely nondescript. So yeah, I'm more confident when I'm out and everything, more comfortable. Especially like with my incredibly honest hips. I've always known that more femme clothes hang off me better anyway. Because I used to steal my ex's. Well, I say steal, like she knew I wasn't like stealing clothes from people. That would be horrible. But I would use her like leggings and stuff for wrestling training.
I know what you mean.
So because that anything else risks falling off me, but feminine design clothes just fit me perfectly. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah. See, I have the opposite problem. So I've got very feminine hips because I've had 2 kids. And I'm quite well developed upstairs as well. So actually trying to dress in masculine clothes, which is what I prefer, is a fucking nightmare.
Sure, yeah.
Like, I have to bind my boobs, and even then there's a bit of a bulge, and I have to wear like a baggy shirt. And men's jeans, forget about it. The best I can do is baggy women's ones.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame that things aren't more widely available in more unique shapes because people are different. I mean, the very fact that most clothes are cut just 2 ways is already an issue. But it's just easy for them to keep doing what they're doing at the end of the day.
I actually subscribe to something called Gender Liberation. I don't know if you've heard of it before.
I haven't, no.
So it's kind of like gender abolition, but it's not abolishing the labels. It's abolishing the stereotypes, the gender roles, the specific clothes fits. Like, you can still have all different kinds of clothes fits, but have some in-betweens as well,
Yeah.
It's basically liberating gender from societal expectations.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that would have made a lot of things a lot easier for a lot of people, I think, if that's something we'd had from the beginning.
When I was a kid, I wanted to go into STEM fields. I wanted to be a physicist. And I was told I wasn't allowed to study physics because I was a girl. This was
Sweet
in Ireland.
Jesus.
Yeah, but that was still a thing up to the like early 2000s.
Yeah, it's a nonsense.
So
clothes-wise, I'm lucky. I use Torrid for pretty much everything, and I do all the sizes. I mean, they're designed for big O roundos like myself, and I've gotten some really good stuff from there. So that's been good.
Yeah, Well, at least you found somewhere that you like and that's
Yeah,
comfortable with you. I'm
yeah,
still looking. I live at the moment in fucking geeky fandom clothes because they
right,
are the
yeah.
most flattering men's shape and women's shape both. And they're something I identify with and love, and so I'm therefore comfortable in.
Hmm. Yeah, but I've been the same way until I started shopping more femme clothes. I was the same. I've got so many t-shirts like Undertale, Flint Hook, Evil Dead, just anything. I amassed them, and it was always just black pants, um, standard, and nothing else. Again, maybe like a hoodie when it gets cold.
Yeah, see, mine is jeans and a fandom t-shirt and a hoodie. Usually a fandom
Mhm.
hoodie as well, and usually a fandom backwards like snapback
Mm,
because I don't go out bound very often, but I do lean
right.
on like the slightly baggier side of the wardrobe on top just to kind of mask my breasts a little.
Mm.
And it's yeah, this is all the ways in which I can make myself look as non-feminine as possible. Like the whole face that I've got on now isn't something you see very often with me.
Right.
I usually don't wear makeup at all. I am only wearing makeup because I did not want to turn up to stream to talk to you covered in fucking obvious acne, to be quite honest, because I'm having massive problems with it at the moment.
You see, what you need to do is you need to do what I do and amass a collection of masks, so that if I'm like running behind or just really lazy and I don't want to shave up, um, or I feel like I'm covered in blemishes, or I just don't feel great about myself that day, I can always pop something on. Um, and it's not questioned anymore when I do it, because people are used to it. But my standby is, I've got a big foam jaggy mask from Fist of the North Star that a fan sent to my PO box. It's this giant soft squishy helmet of this guy from the anime, and that's a good one to just pop on. It's very comfortable, and there's still quite a bit of my face visible, but everything's sort of obscured. I'm a big fan of masks for the. Not only do I find them very cool, they're very useful for vanity reasons as well. It's why I didn't want to do any of the wrestling stuff without a mask or face paint, and why I've got the aviators on the Gymquisition, just having some sort of affectation on the face is
The pink aviators
useful
are
for
the
me.
coolest shit I have ever seen in my life. Going with the top
Oh,
hat, it's just mwah. It's fabulous.
thank you, thank you. Wait till you see the new hat. I need to actually follow up and see what the status is on that, but
I'm excited.
um, this will be the first one I'm having fully bespoke made. So it'll be in the proper right colors in a really nice style. And the lady who's working on the hat, her husband does goggles. So I bought a couple of baby boglins and had them shipped over, so that he can take the baby boglins and set them in the goggles and put them behind the lenses, so they're properly set in there rather than just sort of stuffed into the goggles in a haphazard fashion like I've got right now. Um, so I'm really looking forward to it. I've got to chase that up.
I have a question from chat, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
Vivian Wolf wants to know if Starling is also they them, or is it just Jim that is?
Um, well, Jim Starling is the actor who plays Darkwing Duck in universe in the new DuckTales series. So I can't speak for. Oh, well, I mean, I know that Jim Starling uses he him, but for Amanda Sterling, ha ha ha. I think, I think we'll be going with they them. I haven't decided with some of the alter egos and stuff, like all that I'm doing, but I think, especially because the more I put of myself into the wrestling, I think they then will probably be the most appropriate. But as I've said, in general, I'm okay with anything. It's just they them more and more has been very comfortable to me, so I prefer that.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Yeah, Viv wants to wrestle with Commander Sterling. She reckons the Lizard Queen would kick the Ponzi dictator's ass, but that's not for me to say.
I mean, we can go. Are you professionally trained? Because both of us will die if you're not really good at it. Because I'm only really good at the falling over bit. So if we actually, like, if I tried to suplex you, both of us would die unless you were really good at the no idea what Vivian
This
is
is epic.
doing. So that's been confirmed in the chat. No idea. So yeah, anytime.
Can I record it?
You know, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if I died in a wrestling match, that would
That would be fitting.
I mean, get 1 million. That'd be okay. Get some good views, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, I had to cough, so I muted myself for a second. I didn't want to deafen you. So, going back to the YouTube stuff, I actually have got a question for your wonderfully clever game brain.
Mm-hmm.
Or rather, wonderfully clever anti-capitalist game corporation brain.
Right.
So, since seeing a lot of your stuff on Ubisoft, I've actually been really torn about getting Assassin's Creed Valhalla. But I love the Assassin's Creed series. I know it's the same thing over and over and over again. I've heard Yahtzee ramble about it so much my ears have bled. But I still love the series.
Right.
So I have this horrible divide that's like, one half of me is like, yeah, no, get it, fuck it. And the other half is like, yeah, but Kez, they work with transphobes and horrible people and they've covered up rapes and it's just... They can eat your ass, really, really, they can. And it, you know, I've got these two halves of me that's like gamer half and, well, SJW half, left winger, you know, and it's that there are odds. And I don't know what to do.
So I've done a video on that. I can't remember what it is. I think it's something about buying games guilt-free or something in the title. And my first thought to that is always the secondhand market. Probably the quickest and easiest compromise is to look into getting it used, which when games launch within a week, you can get it there, which, you know, in that way doesn't contribute any extra sales money to them. There is a discussion on whether or not just populating the game, especially as they're all increasingly online, if that's beneficial enough to be an ethical issue for someone. From a personal standpoint, during a closing scene on the Jimquisition, which isn't scripted. The live action intro outro stuff actually isn't scripted, so I will just go off on one. And then I lost my temper a lot during one, and then just swore I wouldn't touch their games at all, not even for coverage, and sort of really make sure that any coverage I give to Ubisoft until I don't even know how they do it without getting rid of Yves Rameau, but until they satisfactorily deal with their issues. You know, any time I talk about them will be in relation to those issues. But that's just me. You know, I can't tell anyone else what to do necessarily. I can only offer alternatives. So that's one of them that I've offered is, there is the used market. There is something that the used market's been compared to in years past that is very frowned upon. So I wouldn't recommend that, and I never have, unless it's Mulan on Disney Plus.
I won't even do that.
If you subscribe to Disney Plus and they're charging $30 extra on something I've subscribed to for a Mulan film that, by all accounts, isn't all that well liked to begin with. It just isn't very good. I think, it's my civic duty to just download. I don't even want to watch it. I mean, I haven't done it. I'm too lazy, but I do think it's my civic duty that I will be too lazy to do to, download that thing, download the Mulan film that wasn't very good. So there's that. There was something else I think I suggested. I know one of them was just like, don't get it. You don't need games, if they're giving you a problem. That's not the answer people would want if they're looking for a way to play the game. So that's sort of where I'm at. The used market, which is not a long-term solution because things are increasingly online. That's increasingly digitally distributed. That's my go-to answer for now if you're looking for a compromise.
Thank you, that's helpful.
And I probably put it way better and had other more maybe marginally more useful things to say in that video, which was a little while back. But it is sort of how to buy games guilt-free, some title similar to that.
I did actually watch that video, but it was so long ago, most of it's gone out of my brain. I have a memory like a sieve.
That's fine. I can't remember what I did 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's a mood. Musebank in chat wants to know, does Jim accept gifted games on Steam? I'm friends with Silver Spook, who is a colleague of mine in like the more political sphere. I think Jim would love his game Neo Feud. It's an epic, amazing leftist cyberpunk point and click. I have seen the gameplay. I do think you'd like it because it's quite interesting, but it is very kind of old-fashioned in terms of like point and click.
Right. Yeah, like I get sort of recommendations and people offering things, and I'm usually hesitant to take them because I worry about the expectation of covering things, and I can't always guarantee that. So I sort of have to pick and choose what I do. So it's and especially when it comes to Steam, I still have one of the old accounts, one of the old professional like media accounts. So no one really needs to gift me anything because I can pretty much access anything I need to access for work. So I'll always take the recommendations and the names. I just can't guarantee I'll get to things.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's expecting you to cover it. It's a game I think Muse and I actually think you'll like. It's your kind of quirky, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean it's usually an obligation I put on myself.
I mean, I do that too. I understand that entirely. Like I've started getting these like subscription boxes of like snacks from different places. And I've put this obligation on myself to open them on stream now because apparently my reactions are incredibly entertaining. So, but it means now I'm like, okay, so I have a box from Israel actually at the moment that I'm like, I'm going to cover that on stream. I'll get around to it eventually.
And of course, everything you cover on stream is a tax write-off.
Yeah, right.
I will dine on boglin soup. Write it
Bogland
off.
soup, you're king of the Boglands. Or, well, over NB of the Boglands, shall we say.
My props. I've got a right to write them off.
Yeah, I'm sorry a load of your Boglands melted in the move, by the way. You looked so sad.
Yeah, it's no big loss on the bigger ones that actually did the ruining, because they weren't very good ones.
Clearly.
Yeah, I'm better off without those. The mini boglins were a shame. It was no super valuable ones got lost. I'm actually more bummed about whatever ones I must have left in Mississippi. Because I left a bunch of stuff there. But I've ordered a whole bunch, and Becky's been very kindly gathering them for me, the ones I can't get shipped in the US, to send over. So I've pretty much got everything replaced, plus some of the, as I mentioned on the last Jimquisition, some of the more desirable ones that I didn't have previously. So it's worked out all right.
Well, at least there's that, yeah. Always positive. Yeah, on your thing about masks, like, I've got face masks out the wazoo, because you have to wear them here now. Like, in shops and stuff, if you're inside anyway, you have to wear a face mask. You don't have to in the street,
Same
though.
here, yeah.
We're in, like, a semi-lockdown at the moment, but they haven't closed schools or colleges or universities, because that would be fucking common sense, apparently.
Been seeing that rubbish.
And now Boris Johnson is having to isolate again after already having it, because he went to a meeting with a load of MPs, 2 of which have come down with it.
Brilliant.
And I'm having to keep my daughter off school because one of the kids in her school has tested positive, and she and her little brother are both coughing and feverish. Oh yeah, this whole thing can fuck right off.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
It's unbelievable. I mean,
I hate capitalism.
stuff like this demonstrates how the UK and the US both, in all their arrogance, behaving like they're the cultural centre of the world, are both just held together by string. It's held together by string and wishes.
And spit.
Yeah. It's like we all agreed it was sort of working. So, I mean, you know, most people did. For other people, it was horrible. But, you know, it was like, but basically, politically, everyone agreed that there were some rules in place. And then some people decided no. And then it turned out no one could actually stop that from happening, because strings and wishes was keeping everything together.
Well, yeah, that's
and all it takes is one person with a pair of scissors. So it's no wonder that neither country can handle this freaking virus.
Yeah, no, it's true. And also, I don't know what they expect, like, to be able to achieve with basically more capitalism, when it's been proven over and over and over and over again that the only way out of a crisis, whether it's a pandemic or a war, is socialist policy.
Well, I mean, even the most ardent fearmongerer of socialism in America was taking the money. He did the money.
Yeah. Do you know what I think y'all should get in America? An NHS.
Yeah.
Genuinely, that's something I actively shout about regularly when I'm streaming politics. I shout about how much America needs a bloody NHS.
Yeah, I'd just been sorting out my insurance because and I got help doing it because I tried to do it myself last year. Didn't understand a frigging thing. Got really confused. Ended up with some like policy or whatever, like just so useless that I got rid of it. Like I said, needed help on this one. It was, it's alien. It's so convoluted.
It's the US's version of the DWP. Purposefully awkward and complicated so you fail, so they don't have to help you.
Yeah. and they don't teach you any of it in school. But certainly weren't doing it when I was being taught. Like nothing about filing taxes, nothing about like healthcare, and nothing that's the most crucial stuff to a lot of people as they get older, and especially right now. You know.
Yeah, I mean, Trump's sitting there going, "We won the election," and it's like, you didn't though, because you killed like 3% of your voter base, if not more.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, I've never seen a more self-defeating set of people. But the scary thing is they, no matter how many times they hurt themselves, they are not stopping. And I've said, like, I fully believe that it'll take another generation of MAGA cultists to just straight up fully deify Donald Trump. I mean, right now they're treating him as the sort of at the Jim Jones level. I think next generation we're at L. Ron Hubbard, we're at prophet level, and then
no.
Lord knows what will happen next. But I truly believe that we're looking at something that could very well become the next Scientology.
Ugh.
And it already behaves that way, the unwavering faith and the rejection of reality and the constant milking of money out of the people who have been duped into it.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely a death cult.
Yeah. So like it functionally right now, it's no different than any number of swindle religions. So.
Yeah, it's like QAnon on roids.
I was actually before the election, one of the mega caravans rolled on through the street. And I've seen these, the Trump rallies and these caravans of trucks honking and everything. I've seen them in videos. But weirdly, seeing it with my own eyes, like up close, makes it less believable than it was when I was just watching it on a video. Somehow, actually seeing it, I believe it happened less because it's so surreal. It's like actually watching the War Boys go through. There's something just so Mad Max about these trucks just full of screaming like actual warmongers.
Yeah.
It's absolutely bizarre.
I have a friend in Cali who had one go by the end of his street yesterday. And he stood outside and he was actually messaging me at this point of time and went, I fucking hate this country. Went back in again. Just that was it. Just I fucking hate this country.
Yeah.
So,
See, Kels Kevin says MAGA severely lacking in doof warriors, though. We've got Rudy Giuliani. We've got the
true.
doofus warrior.
I'm not sure he's a doofus as much as he is rapey, but though.
Wow. Yeah. Those picks a hell of a venue, though.
He is never going to live down being right next door to a fucking sex toy shop, is he?
No. Which, I mean, if that's the thing that makes him embarrassed, it'll be a world record for the longest running shameless behavior. I've never seen someone so unafraid of embarrassment as Rudy Giuliani. Maybe Dilbert guy.
Sorry, Viv just made me laugh. Between a cemetery and a sex shop, so he can get fucked and die.
Nice one, Centurion. I like it.
Oh, my friends make me laugh. And it's really distracting when I'm trying to talk to somebody. We did want to delve into gender a little bit. I don't know if you noticed when I lifted my camera a minute, I actually have a trans flag hung up behind me that has fairy lights all around it.
I did say that earlier, yeah.
I'm very proud of it. We put it up earlier on today. It's my first trans flag since I've come out. So
Nice.
It's a bit of a pride thing, you know. So, do you mind if I ask kind of what made you start questioning your gender?
Let me think. Because when I guess I traced my first thought to it like all the way back to when I was like maybe 5 or 6. And I remember someone confusing me for a girl for the first time. I'm not as androgynous as I used to be. I remember just sort of the amount I wasn't bothered by that was something I thought about and have thought about for the for going on through the years. And then I ignored a lot of sort of signs, a lot of the usual ones that people talk about, and just sort of pushed a lot of that to the side, especially after I'd gotten married and tried to sort of fit into that sort of traditional husband role, that sort of cis male role that just I couldn't get to work. Lord, did I try for a long time. But even during that, there was a lot of, especially as I got to know more non-binary people, more trans people, it got me thinking about of the things that I told myself I would do if not for, and then any number of barriers. One always being the weight, of course. It was like if I felt like I'd look good in like a dress or something, I would absolutely do it. And I would say stuff like that throughout my entire career to people I worked with and stuff, but didn't consciously read too much into that until the past few years, getting to see what's out there, and only in the past few years have I known much about non-binary people and what that means. But then I just started thinking more and more about, this is especially over the past year, I've been thinking more and more about the way I interact with things, and like especially when it comes to, say, like video games, for instance. That's one of the easier things to draw from, since that's all I bloody do with my life. And why I dedicated my working life to that bloody medium. But let's draw from that. For example, character creators, I've always been torn between two options that they've always presented: your male and your female. And I've always been stuck with a bit of angst before picking those. Usually what I would do would be to pick the male body type and then just try and pretty him up as much as possible. And I never really thought too much about why I would do that until the past year. And then I'd heard, and I'm not even sure if it's true because I'd heard different things since, but I'd heard about cyberpunk allowing for non-binary characters, and realized that the moment I'd heard that, I was like, brilliant, that's what I'll be doing. And again, for a little while, didn't even clock that might mean anything. Despite the fact that when Apex Legends and Borderlands 3 also had non-binary character options, again, no real question of going with those. Then I was talking with Becky at one point, and we were talking at some point about clothing, and then I mentioned my sort of long-term interest in that side of clothing. And then she said back, I'd gotten this sense of not being cis with you. And up until that point, albeit somewhat awkwardly, that's what I was referring to myself as. In fact, there's a video from just this year where that's how I refer to myself. But it wasn't until then that it sort of clicked. And even then, recently, up until recently, there's still a lot of doubt and imposter syndrome and all of that. But once I really seriously sat down and thought to myself, right, let's try and see if there's something here, if there is something different I could be doing, some option that I didn't think was available to me. And then it was amazing how quickly I took to that. It was a day of actually saying things out loud and talking to friends and sort of getting perspectives that I really started understanding what was up with myself, sort of what the deal was. And then from there, just diving into it and getting more and more comfortable with it. To the point where now, after spending ages sort of waiting for some help with it because everywhere I was going was sort of a dead end, I just sort of hit Google today and got myself on a waiting list to have an appointment for hormone stuff.
That's really good news.
Of HRT. So yeah, it'll be a couple months wait. And if I hadn't really dallied for the past few months, and we could have gotten on that train, but I'll look around to see if there's anything quicker. But
A couple of months isn't
list
bad.
was a year. So,
yeah, a couple of months isn't bad. Do you know the wait I'm looking at? Almost 4 years in the UK to go on.
Yeah, I know in the UK
it's absurd.
It's unconscionable. It's every element of the official legal trans process in the UK as they've set it. Every element is so petty and cruel from what I've seen.
Oh yeah, 2 years of that wait is artificial. Entirely artificial. This is what happens when you live on fucking Turf Island.
Yeah.
Did you find that your openness to identify as something other than cis kind of synced with your move left?
Possibly. It's hard to tell. I mean, my move was very gradual as I've learned and picked things up. I didn't just flip a switch overnight. It was a long process of learning, and I wanted to make sure that that's what it was. That it was very, very genuine and measured and everything. But thinking back, like I can't pinpoint. I tell you what, I would rather than my move left, I would attribute more to having met and spoken to and befriending a lot more trans and non-binary people, and perhaps also my increased interest in trans rights and hitting back against TERFs. In fact, for many years, there's always been just this instinctive, special repulsion when it comes to TERFs. There's always just something a little extra that set my teeth on edge. And then, as I say, the more I got into that and spoke about those issues, the more I guess I applied them to myself. And I did spend a long time talking to a lot of people, but never applying what they were talking about regarding their own experiences to myself. It was something I always consciously excluded myself from. Just, that's not you. And then, that's taken little bit of time. You know, there's some heavy doors to kick through.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if any of that was useful. Again,
Oh yeah.
I ramble when I talk
I
about this stuff.
trust me and most of my chat are right there with you. I have an awful lot of non-binary people in chat as well. I have tried to have a community that is very protective of trans people specifically.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm very harsh with trolls and, you know, transphobia and any kind of like bigotry and what have you, you know. Like it's interesting you say that it's kind of the more you learned, the more you leaned, as it were, because I kind of found the same thing, but I found it through YouTube. It wasn't like I was watching some YouTube videos of some people I like, and then I found other YouTube videos, and I found I don't know if you know YouTuber Jamie Rains.
I don't think so.
He's a
No.
young trans guy, late 20s, like around my
Okay.
age, and he's completed his transition now. And I started to follow him a little while ago because he was talking about his transition and the effects of the hormones and everything, and I found it quite interesting because I like science anyway.
Yeah.
And then from there, I found a couple called Ash and Grace Hardell, both of which, Ash identifies as non-binary, Grace is a gay woman, and they're married. And it was Ash going, yeah, since I was a kid, I was like, no, I want to be like that. I want to be playing with those boys things. I want to be wearing those dungarees. Get me the fuck out of this dress before I scream. And I'm sitting there going, oh shit. Because I'd known for years I wasn't cis either. Like, since I was a
Right.
kid,
Yeah.
I grew up in very rural Ireland, so I didn't have the vocabulary to figure out what I was. I just knew what I wasn't. And the thing is, like, I'd come out as bi in my early teens. I was literally the only queer in the village. It was not fun. And then, like, as I grew up, I realised actually bi is wrong. I'm pansexual. And then I grew up a bit more and I kind of delved down a YouTube rabbit hole one day and went, oh, shit. And then started to look into it more and look into it more and look into it more. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm this then. That describes me.
Yeah. Well, this is why representation is so important. This is why visibility is so important. This is why I said on Twitter today, talking about Trans Awareness Week, the awareness is the operative word.
I retweeted that,
if
actually.
oh, thank you. But yeah, if I'd have been more aware, if the world I'd grown up in had been more aware, then I could have saved myself a lot of hassle. I could have saved myself a lot of stress and exhaustion trying to fit into roles that just weren't working, and feeling a lot of self-loathing for things that in recent months I've come to really like, thanks to just looking at it from a new perspective. I was talking to an old friend of mine from school, who we only recently reconnected. I've not spoken to him since like the year 2000 or 99 or something like that. He's gone through similar changes. He still uses he him, but has a lot of gender feels and sexuality fluidity and stuff like that. We were both talking about how, like, if we had known, we might have been able to, you know, help each other not feel completely isolated and different and weird. And we were at it was an all boys school. It was one where you did not step out of that
Yep, I had an old girl school
straight
like that.
male role. You stay there.
Yeah.
You don't stand out. You don't do anything different. You don't. And the result, of course, is everyone keeps everything buried. Towards the end, I was a little more open about being bisexual, which is what I identified as at the time. I always remember my best friend at the time telling me that I would decide on one or the other eventually. We're still friends. at some point I'm going to have to ask what he now thinks about that. But it's something that's stuck with me for sure. So yeah, I think visibility is important because people do need to know what options are there, what avenues are there, that they don't have to fit into one of two very restricted roles. And I think that's good for cis people to know as well, that they, even if they do identify as cis, they don't have to. I had a friend in Mississippi. He wouldn't. He didn't even want to hold his wife's handbag for a second while she was still with him and was just picking up some clothes. He was that terrified of holding something feminine. And all I could say was just, mate, that is so exhausting. That has to be so tiring. And if we just didn't have these rigidly enforced roles, people would be able to just relax and be good to themselves a lot more.
Oh, don't. Growing up in Catholic rural Ireland, I got that a lot. It was,
Oh, I imagine, yeah.
Yeah, my little brother couldn't pick up my backpack because it was purple. Like, it was majority black, but it had, like, purple highlights on it. Like, I went through a goth and emo phase in my teens. Don't ask. And he wasn't even, like, able to pick that up and pass it to me without being like, no, you've picked up your sister's bag, you're gay. Will you ever fuck off, you idiot? Christ. It is genuinely, like, dealing with people like that, it's genuinely, like, repeatedly banging your head off a wall and expecting something to change. But the wall is, like, solid 3 feet of concrete.
Yeah. Yep.
My friend Jake.
Yeah, I mean, I used to argue with friends and that when I'd order quote unquote girly drinks. I'm like, you realise both how good these taste and how utterly leathered they get you. And I mean, they wanted just to drink beer. A lot of the people I knew would just drink beer, and I'm like, it's horrible. It's like, oh, it's like drinking an old lake, and I don't get the appeal. I mean, I know some people genuinely like the taste, but I'm convinced a lot of people don't, and they're denying themselves something green or pink
Or bright blue.
bright blue, all the bright colours,
Give
all
me
the
the
good
blue
drinks.
WKDs, please, and give me 80 of them so I can get hammered quickly. Because they taste
There you
great, so
go.
they just go down like pop. Mitnerd in chat said something amusing a minute ago. Honestly, I stopped being afraid of holding a purse after I saw my mother beat a man with hers.
Nice.
Yes. Yes, that. All of that. I was going to say something else. What was I going to say? Do you have any questions for me? Because I know you were saying the other day on stream that you're still quite... Like, you still want to learn more about, like, gender theory and all that sort of stuff, and you still don't feel like you know enough to answer a lot of questions. Like, when I was answering questions in your chat the other day. But is there anything you'd like to ask me?
I'm one of those terrible people who, when asked if they've got any questions, immediately forget all of them that could be had. I'm that way with answers as well, so I'm actually fairly useless in personal conversation.
You need to start writing it down. Keep a little fucking
Yeah.
post-it leaflet with you. I used to do that. When I was on antidepressants, my memory was just crap. So I would keep, like, a little post-it leaflet with me to the point where there would be post-its, like, littering my house.
Right. Hold on. I'm still here.
Yeah, you're still here.
Oh, thank God.
You're all right.
Sorry, I had a moment of panic. I thought everything had cut then.
A momentary lapse of reason?
Indeed.
I had to make up for earlier.
I apologize. I'm my brain is now completely emptied of
You're okay.
worthwhile
My,
inquiry.
my chat's saying we stan a relatable ADHD icon.
Yeah, that's something I've been more open about now.
I also have
There's
ADHD,
no
and
hiding it.
yeah, I also have ADHD, and several of my chatters do as well.
Right.
That's something
Yeah.
else I work a lot on, is like mental health and stuff, because I've got quite a lot of experience with that myself.
Mm.
Don't worry, you can ask questions if and when they come to you while we're
For
talking about
sure.
other things. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. So,
I'll come up with some.
this might be an odd
Maybe
question.
not right now. Mm-hmm.
Is there anything traditionally masculine, quote unquote, that you do like in your adulthood that would have surprised you when you were like starting to question your gender as a kid?
Hmm. I mean, maybe the 12 years in Mississippi trying to be as normal a husband as possible. I literally don't believe how I pulled that off for as long as I did.
Yeah, that's something I'm kind of juggling myself at the moment. So we're not married, but my partner and I have been together for, hang on, 8 years, nearly. Maybe just over. I forget. No, yeah. What? Oh, I thought he was talking to me. Sorry. Nearly 8 years, I think. I think it was 2013 we got together. I don't remember exactly now. It's somewhere between 7 and 9. Okay.
Yeah.
But we've got 2 kids. We've got a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. And I've only really started to be more open and obvious with like questioning my gender and experimenting with like my presentation and stuff since having our son. And I'm actually like down on the list to get my tubes tied, so I absolutely don't have any more.
Right.
And it's like I am trying to juggle like being a traditional-ish mum and spouse, and also juggling my being gender non-binary and like still feeling out who I am within that. And
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's really a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. I mean, it really is, and you know, you should benefit from at least being able to work that out now. It's not something I was able to fully work out until after the fact. But best of luck, because it is difficult to
Yeah.
just balance roles and expectations and everything.
I'm the
There's a
kind.
lot I always try and live up to day to day, and things that unrealistically high standards and stuff. I mean, my brain, even though I've gotten way more comfortable, my brain still finds ways to do that with the non-binary and the transition experiences of the past few months.
Do you get that little voice in the back of your head that I get that's like, you're not trans enough?
Yeah. Something I keep trying to remember is something that both Casey Explosion and Eric Sophie Curio have said to me is if you spend so much time worrying that you're not something, chances are you probably are, because there are probably not that many cis people worried that they are not trans. If anything, their fear, well, we know a lot of fear with straight cis people is that they are not that, which again, if you're really sort of putting in the effort and the work to be a certain way, then probably something to it. It's a wall to climb, is to not doubt yourself so much, especially when your experience has been trying to fit into roles and failing, and struggling to be quote unquote normal. The stuff you learn there about feeling like you're broken, feeling like you're not right, that's still gonna linger, even as you know that you're doing the right thing. Still, those voices have always been there telling you that you're screwing up. One thing for me, and I guess I could ask you about this, is so I never felt like I had anything like dysphoria, per se. Felt more like there were other elements that I wasn't happy with. But then once I came out, the elements I wasn't happy with, particularly things that were not like masculine and what have you, I actually became really comfortable with. It often felt like maybe I wouldn't feel the need to do anything further physically to transition because I now saw myself differently. But lately, I feel like dysphoria has crept in, and I don't know if that's a normal thing for you to feel like you never had that, but then it's setting in after the fact.
I had exactly the same thing. I, for the longest time, was like, I cannot be trans, I don't have dysphoria. And then I kind of found myself in my non-binary identity, realised I wanted to be more mask presenting, and then the dysphoria kicked in. And it was like, oh, okay, so basically I spent all this time just burying the shit out of it until I realised it wasn't even there. Until, like, I didn't realise it was even there. And then the moment, like, that part of my brain woke up and went, oh, wait, we're comfortable with who we are now? We label it? We talk about it? Okay, well, this is a thing now. Here, have some dysphoria. Like, that's
Right,
perfectly normal.
Yeah.
That is perfectly normal. Almost every single non-binary person I have ever asked about it has felt exactly the same way. A lot of trans people too. Like, full-on binary trans people. Just exactly the same way.
Thank you for answering that. Yeah, that's one that's something I've been thinking about lately. Because that has been, the dysphoric element has been a more recent development.
And you always end up asking yourself, wait, is this psychological?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I second guess myself about everything.
Oh, that's a rude. Yeah.
You know, I'll say something that I know is the absolute God's honest truth. I still think in my head, what if I'm lying?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do exactly the same thing. Oh, sorry, hang on, I just have to thank a friend of mine. Thanks, Ben, for subscribing. Yay, subs, woo. What was I saying? I don't know, I forget. See, I'm just as bad as you are.
Well, Becky being Becky actually has given me some nudges into subjects I could ask about.
Please.
And one good one is any queer media that you feel has helped or you think you could recommend to someone to help them understand stuff a bit better and see themselves more.
Oh, I have so many YouTube channels for you. So many. Also, if you haven't, watch the new She-Ra series.
I'd started, but my ADHD, which I will give you a question on next, my ADHD got in the way of that. So I started it, couldn't concentrate, and then didn't get back to it. But I would like to go back to it because I've heard very good things. And
all I'm going to tell you is that a non-binary character shows up in the second or third season.
Oh, lovely.
Yes.
Delightful.
Also, if it's something the quartering has a meltdown over, you know it's going to be good. Right? In terms of YouTubers, if you want, I will drop some links in our DM after our conversation for you.
Sure.
If that'd help. Also, Steven Universe. I'm being told by chat, Steven Universe is really good for trans people too.
Yes.
Particularly for MB
Kate
stuff.
Dale is a big fan of Steven Universe.
Yeah, I've got loads of YouTubers for you though, so don't stress about that.
Cool. And also, I can recommend actually for wrestling. My favorite wrestler is Still Life with Apricots and Pears. And non-binary, they were actually a big help to me, a big inspiration for me. Was seeing their transition and their move into becoming non-binary, and indeed the first non-binary wrestler to hold a championship in the industry. So seeing them go out and do it really helped me. So I highly recommend checking them out. The name again is A Still Life with Apricots and Pears.
Okay, can one of my moderators or VIPs just note that down for me for later, please? Thank you, because my brain is soup. My brain spends most of its time being soup.
I
have
fully
children.
understand that.
Aronok says Sense8. I did start watching it, but one of its main characters trans, and it was made by the Wachowski sisters, who obviously came out.
I'd heard a lot of good things about that.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to see it, and then I got hit with that issue that is there with a lot of Netflix shows where it's like, oh, it got cancelled. And then I already struggle to watch things that I even want to watch, like desperate to watch even, or even play games sometimes. So it's just another barrier to watching something when that happens. There was, what was it called? Some Netflix show. It was a BBC show. It was set in Japan and the UK. God, I can't remember it, but it looked fantastic. The reviews were brilliant, and it got cancelled after one season, so I didn't watch it. But I think I probably should check out Sense8 anyway.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting so many questions randomly that I'm having a hard time keeping up with them. So if mod...
Do you mind if I just disappear for a moment? I just need to refill my cup with some water.
You're absolutely fine. I just got my other half to refill my Coke glass. You're alright.
Okay. I'll be back in a moment.
So, chat, how are you enjoying the conversation so far? Is everybody having a good time? And thank you all to the new followers, the subs, Ben, Mabasai. 3 months for Mabasai, 5 months for Ben, holy shit. And thank you for the bits, again, Musebank. If there are any more subs or gift subs or bits or donos in chat, they would be greatly helpful because they help me pay my rent. Well, pay my bills, not my rent. My rent gets covered.
Right. There we are.
There we go. Welcome back. I was just talking to my chat.
Yep. 2 cups of water.
Wait.
Saved myself a trip. Some new cups in, so I'm not drinking out of those red ones that people drink at parties. They're all
Fucking red
rainbowy,
Solo
like
cups.
the iridescent stuff, like my cutlery. But they're a bit smaller, unfortunately.
You need one of those like big old water bottles with the screw-on lids that a lot of streamers have.
I need to just tank something up. Yeah.
You know, I usually, and I know this is dreadfully unhealthy, I don't really care that much. I live on Monster normally, but I've actually run out, which is why I've got Coke at the moment.
I can't. I was very hooked on Monster a couple years back, and got terrible migraines. Swore off it. Didn't learn my lesson. Spent the past year and a half necking Red Bulls, and had to stop again because I was getting ravaged. The entire weekend I was doing my last wrestling show, the one in Pittsburgh, where I hosted the whole thing. I felt wretched. I had a massive migraine on the train into Pittsburgh, and then felt nauseous the rest of the weekend. Yeah, and then finally made good on that nauseous promise on the last night in Pittsburgh. So after that, I was like, right, I can't do any more Red Bulls. In a couple of years, I'll forget and I'll start it again.
Yeah, see, I initially stopped Monsters because I got pregnant with, well, okay, So I sort of stopped monsters when I got pregnant with my daughter, and I cut down on them a lot,
Mhm.
partially because of the cost and partially because, quite frankly, that level of caffeine was boxing my kidneys. And I'm quite prone to like infections and stuff anyway. So I was getting kidney infections every fucking month, like
Oh
clockwork.
god.
And then I had my son, and between my son and the pandemic and the increase in my ADHD symptoms with the pandemic and the streaming and the late nights and everything else, like burning the candle at both ends, I've ended up living off of Monster and my ADHD meds, of which I take somewhere between 20 and 40 milligrams a day, depending on how busy I am and how much I need to be able to function.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm a mess. Without stimulants, I am a zombie.
Yeah, we're trying to do something about the ADHD with me, but when it comes to stimulants and when it comes to drugs in general, um, I mean, I'm an expensive date, and it takes a lot. And we've been trying with Adderall for a while now. We tried at the lowest dose, did nothing. We've been ramping it up. Um, it's more than double now, and I'm still
Not getting anything.
maybe, yeah, I might be getting a bit clear-eyed with things, not even clear-headed, a bit clear-eyed sometimes. But we're like rubbing up against. Oh no, we're not rubbing up. I've got to get it tomorrow. We're now at the maximum dose for it. If that doesn't do anything, we would have to go over that.
Yeah.
And we're actually at that point where I've got a genetic test kit that's been arranged for me. It's being sent over just to see how fast I actually metabolize drugs. Because it's, even if you were to factor like my size into it, which apparently for this like doesn't factor that much, but even if you did, it's unnatural. It's unnatural. I always tell the story of when I had surgery. The last time I had surgery, um, I came out of it in a real bad way, and they were like trying to sedate me, and also I needed a lot of painkillers because again, stuff doesn't work as well on me. And at one point, the doctor looks at me and says, like, the amount of painkillers in you should be unconscious. And I can remember that conversation even with my ADHD. I was that lucid. Um, I metabolize things strangely, and like I even have weird, often opposite reactions to things as well. Stuff that might make someone groggy might actually make me more active.
Is weed legal
So
where
I've
you
just got a
are?
weird um medically, medically it is.
It might be worth talking to your doctor about getting a prescription and trying it out, because I
The thing is,
know.
I'd
Sorry, go on.
qualify, but I've got no reason to bother because I can just have some here when I need some.
Yeah.
I
Well,
can just get
I'm
some,
going
and
by
better
the
than what I could get through official channels.
yeah, but I'm going by the legal thing because Twitch and TOS.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying theoretically
Oh
that's
yeah, of
something
course.
I
Like in a
could
total
do.
hypothetical video game
Yeah.
scenario, yes.
Sorry, I
You're right.
apologize. I forget because on my Twitch I will just run my mouth because I barely care.
Yeah, you're right.
And I forget that other people actually are trying to maintain a good standing.
Yeah, my other half and I are both disabled, so we both live on disability benefits in the UK. I use
Yeah,
Twitch to kind of supplement it enough that we can actually afford to pay our bills, because otherwise we
sure,
can't.
sure.
And we can't afford Christmases and birthdays and stuff if I don't supplement it.
Oh, shit. If I've cost you anything, let me know and I'll recoup you.
No, not at all. Don't be silly.
It should be fine. Should
It'll
be
be fine.
fine.
I'm quite a small streamer anyway. By and large, Twitch staff don't pay attention to small streamers, so I should be fine.
I mean, I shouldn't even be as cavalier as I am because what bits of monetization were on YouTube really helped with the taxes, which is sort of my biggest. I don't like being in debt, but that's always the biggest bill But
Yeah.
Twitch has been sort of like, after I've now demonetized everything, I've just given up on YouTube. Twitch has actually, in a real short time, made up that shortfall and sort of carried that part of the weight, that part of the budget, a real short time. So I really shouldn't be doing what I do when I go on there and flaunting the rules and
You should ask Becky to
talking about
message you.
subjects I shouldn't.
You should ask Becky to message you, like, just before you go live, and then once in the middle, just being like, or once or twice in the middle, even being like, make sure you behave yourself.
And she already does, is the thing.
Bless her.
And we got the whole mod squad are great, keeping things good. Further to what you said earlier about making sure that your audience is very trans friendly, trans welcoming. That's something I've really appreciated on Twitch, is the ability to start again and really get to define what the platform is. Because obviously the way the Jimquisition started and the way the general audience that my channel's appealed to, even as I've gotten more political and everything, a lot of the audience there is still a YouTube audience.
And miserable chuds.
And therefore very hostile to trans people. Whenever I would bring up something that would affect trans people in videos, that's the stuff I would get the most vicious backlash from, which would often make me feel really unsupportive of the trans community, because I would be so scared of it. Like again, even before I knew anything about myself, there was always just this internal instinctive fear reaction to transphobia.
You get used to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, right now I'm at the point where, some people have said thank you for standing up to TERFs on Twitter and that, and I'm like, they can't get me fired. What, am I going to fire myself? They failed to successfully get any of my tweets reported as inappropriate. I'm so not scared of them. They can't do anything to me. And of course I will, even if I didn't care as much as I care about trans issues, they are so unable to do anything about me. But of course I'd fucking have a crack at them. Fuck them.
That's
so
actually
yeah,
something
yeah.
I admire, because even a lot of trans people I know don't have the energy,
Yes.
Because it's so exhausting. Like, I do it. I get transphobes in my chat all the fucking time, especially with the little nightbot commands that pop up, like the timers that pop up in my chat that are like, yay, trans rights, all that shit.
Yeah.
And I've set them like that on purpose. Anytime I'm talking about trans issues, I'll get a load of fucking wankers in chat, because of course I will. I was talking about trans rights on Sunday with a doctor I know that streams, and we were talking about the effect COVID was having on trans people. And then we went from there to like the abuses of trans people in the medical system, particularly in the States, of which there is a lot. And there was just troll after troll after troll after troll after troll after troll. We ended up having to ban like 15 to 20 people within the space of an hour.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So yeah, it does happen on Twitch, but if you're not obviously talking about trans stuff, or you're not obviously trans, you don't get it as much.
Yeah, and this is something I've always tried to do on the Jimquisition anyway, especially in recent years, is I know a lot more people. I have changed people's minds, and I have, as I've learned, a lot of my audience has stuck with me and learned alongside, and become more aware people and more respectful. We get those trolls. So what I try and do is reach people without immediately turning them off with the title. I've done that a bit less recently as I've lost my patience,
Yeah,
and
no.
felt like I've probably reached the maximum amount of people I'm ever going to be allowed to reach on YouTube.
Yeah.
So the Gymquisition over the past couple of years has been a gradual sort of and I've been learning as I've been doing it as well. So it starts as this: let's look at these game publishers that are doing all these crappy things, criticize them. Then just over the years, like, widen the scope of that. Always still keep it focused on games because that's why people are there. But just getting them to understand, like, here's why they're allowed to do this. I've often found that certain words that actually trigger knee-jerk reactions in people inclined to send transphobic bullshit and any other kinds of bullshit. So I've become quite adept at deploying those words at the right time. And you know, I think it's been very effective that way. It's been very worthwhile positioning of the show. But even then, it's still such a gamer-centric show. And I mean that in, you know, the capital G sense of the word. It has for years developed such a flavor of itself, which, while progressive, has always been more subtle about any of my personal aspects and certainly a lot of gender stuff until more recently. So that's been a bit of a shell shock to people. A lot of the people that had, even as I was calling out capitalism, had considered me not that political, borderline, you know, apolitical. So it's difficult, you know. A lot of that audience is set as it is, and you know, a lot of that audience is fantastic, but I'm focused so much more on the Patreon crowd because obviously those are people who invested enough in my work that they understand what it is by now. And on Twitch, I just got this opportunity to start again, and it's, you know, it started fairly small scale and has attracted a real sort of, and Laura and Conrad's streams were a big reason for this, and Casey Explosions as well, where I got to know a lot of that community, a very sort of heavily gay community. So they were basically the automatic ground bed of my Twitch chat. From there, I've been able to really make sure that it's an unapologetically queer channel, so that when people come in and they see me in my unicorn outfit with the lipstick and spinning dresses and all of that stuff, you know, they can stick around or not. It's up to them.
Yeah, I love the unicorn. I do. I really do. I walk into your chat and you're wearing the unicorn. It's like, oh, yay, cozy. We're having a cozy day. I've got a hoodie that's very similar, and it's like it's a fandom hoodie, but it's like hamster unicorns. So it's got like a unicorn horn, but little hamster ears as well, and little hamster unicorns that fly, like dotted all over it. It's bright pink. It's so cute and very warm. The other day you were wearing it, I was like, right, I'm getting my hoodie. And I sat there being a miserable unicorn while you were being a more chipper one.
Yeah, that unicorn onesie served me well. That's another triumph of Dorid.
Yeah, I mean, I still haven't found anything like that. See, I'm not big, but I'm bigger than I've ever been. So it's really hard to shop for a body shape I'm not used to.
Right.
And a body shape that I don't see in my head when I think of myself. So I'm currently a size 14 in the UK. Depending on what shop. Sometimes it's a 12. But I'm so used to being a size 10 from before I had my son that I look at the clothes racks and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I just, fuck it, men's baggy jumpers, comfy knit, that'll do.
So So here's a question
Yes, go for it.
I could throw at you because you said you have ADHD as well. I was wondering if you had any sort of tips, like the way any way you cope with it, because I've noticed, especially recently, I literally can't watch a TV show. I've been doing a rewatch of Alcoholics recently, and I can't watch entire episodes. They'll pass by, and I'm like, wow, I didn't see any of this. I didn't know if you had any ways that you.
I have several. So the first tip would be try weed, see if it helps. Do something with your hands while you're watching. Whether
Okay, I've got
that's
one of them infinity cube things knocking about somewhere, actually.
yeah, whether it's something like that or trying out a new hobby like crochet or something, it doesn't matter. Do something with your hands, even if it's just sketching or scribbling. While you're watching, I find that helps me to no end. Even if it's just rolling cigarettes or rolling joints. Sorry, excuse me, I didn't mean to burp there.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, so I find that helps a lot. Sometimes weed helps. Usually it's chugging caffeine and taking enough ADHD meds that I'm rattling. But yeah, in terms of other things, watch it in parts. Genuinely, like, get to it like the end of a scene roughly halfway through, note down the time, put the post-it on your telly or on your computer, depending on what you're watching it on. Fuck off, do something else, come back to it later.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed even naturally I've done that a few times now. Luckily, of course, the apps and services now just keep your place. So I've noticed I've even just had to do that once or twice where I'm like, okay, I've clearly lost the thread. I need to come back.
I do it streaming too. I'm forever fidgeting while I'm streaming. This is the microphone for this headset because it's actually like a PS4 headset or a phone headset. You can use it for both. And I'm just sitting here twiddling this because I need to do something with my hands.
Yeah. Funnily enough, actually, I've been twiddling a little spirit level that I've got for a lot of while I've been talking. I don't think about it. But yeah, it's like just this little tiny spirit level that came with some wall hangers.
Yeah, and it's a thing I do constantly if I'm at the computer streaming. If I'm at the PS4 streaming, it's a different story because my hands are using the controller.
Yeah,
So it's easier. But if I'm talking, like if I'm talking about politics or I'm doing a panel or whatever, like it's, okay, I need to fiddle. And then I'll catch myself fiddling and go, oh shit, have I been fiddling this entire time? Do I look demented because I've been messing with my hands for this entire fucking thing? I need to get like a fidget
I
spinner
had
or
to be
something.
careful about it because sometimes there'll be things on my desk that I really just shouldn't be idly playing with, like my knife that I use for opening mail and like big packages, and it's a big old knife, and I would catch myself I'm opening and closing it and just screwing around with it, and I'm like,
oh no, this won't end well.
I don't know how I haven't cut a finger off. I keep that in the drawer now. It's not at the desk, so it's usually just the spirit level or a mini boglin or something.
My other half actually got me a set of lockpicks as an early Christmas present. So a set of lockpicks and a load of padlocks. And every time he's seeing padlocks now, he's picking them up just so it's something I can do with my hands. That isn't like messing with a knife or tossing a mug around and smashing it or whatever, Or so I don't want to smoke so often, because that's one of the reasons I still smoke, because I need something to do with my hands all the damn time.
Yeah.
There was something else I was going to say. Hang on. The other tip I could give you is things with shorter episodes. Or watch things on 2x speed if you can. Oh, thank you for hosting. That's very nice of you. You didn't have to do that.
Yeah, I've been sticking a lot with sort of 20-minute shows. So I went through Community. I was able to concentrate on that better.
I still haven't finished that. I did the ADHD thing and I watched two episodes and I was like, no, I'm out. because my brain
yeah.
was just like, nope, and I haven't gone back to it again.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's worth getting through if you can.
I love Donald Glover, I really do, and his music
He's
is
wonderful.
phenomenal. This Is
Mhm.
America is like my favourite song in the world.
It's
But
very, very good.
it is. It's heartbreaking, but it's really good. And it just, I watch something like Community, and generally I do really like them. And if I'm watching them with someone else, or I'm twiddling with my hands, I can sit through the whole thing. But if I'm watching it by
Yeah, I find
myself,
myself watching things with someone better.
mm,
So I'm glad Conrad comes watch the wrestling, because otherwise I'd struggle. Even though most of the time we're just talking about what we'd like to see Tully Blanchard do. Um, yeah, it is more difficult when you're watching something on your own.
oh yeah, definitely. It just every now and then I catch my eyes drifting off to the side and zoning off into the distance, or
Yeah.
messing about on my phone. Even like I end up opening my phone and ending up like opening a game without even thinking about it, and just doing something with my phone when I should be paying attention to what's on the screen, and I'm not at all. It drives the other half nuts. It really does, because I will sit there watching something with them, and I will tell them I will watch something with them, and then after 30 minutes I'll be like, yep, I'm paying attention, I'm paying attention, I'm paying
Hmm.
attention. And I'm just gone then.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do that other thing where I will spend ages scrolling through, not committing to watching anything.
I do that too, yeah.
Just makes it worse if I put something on and then I don't finish it.
And then you
Um,
start something, you're like, no, I don't want that. Let's find something else. Scroll,
yeah.
scroll, scroll,
Now I'll end up
scroll.
settling on something I don't actually want to watch instead of the stuff I do. To
Yeah,
where
I
it'll
do
be
that.
like, screw it. I've just seen Attack of the Killer Tomatoes recommended on Amazon. I'll put that on. Oh wait, this is shit. I'd rather go to bed.
Yeah. If you do want a ridiculous movie that actually will keep you engaged, that is very funny, or I think will, it kept me engaged. It was Cockneys versus Zombies.
Oh, I have watched that many, many
Oh, it's
years ago.
so
I should
good.
rewatch
It
it.
was on
It was
Netflix a little while ago.
shockingly good.
It was on Netflix a little while ago. It was fucking wonderful. It really
Hmm.
was. Like, it's hard for me to get through a movie unless it really grabs me. Ditto like a book or a series, but I got through that in one sitting because I was pissing myself laughing the whole time.
I can't remember the last time a film completely had my attention. Because I concentrated a fair bit on Knives Out. That was a good time.
I haven't seen any new films since the movie version of Hamilton. And it was the
Uh,
music that kept me into that more than the actual story, because the story
oh
was
yeah,
lib shit
the
American patriot porn.
yes, it's difficult to fully
Stomach,
enjoy the storytelling. And yeah,
yeah.
yes, yes.
But the
But the songs
music is
are lovely.
phenomenal.
Yeah. I
So well put
regularly
together.
sing You'll Be Back About the House.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you would make a fabulous George the Third. Just your demeanour when you're being like so over the top that it's a little bit silly, but it's meant to be like silly entertaining.
Yeah.
That would just bottle that. That is George the Third. That's what that is. The last series I watched the whole way through, like binge watched, was The Witcher.
Right, yes, yes.
And most of
A
that,
very good show.
yes, most of that, much like Riot Fox and Chat, was probably because Henry Cavill as Geralt was hot as fuck.
I mean, yes, yes, very attractive. Very attractive figure did he cut.
Didn't like him as Superman at all. As Geralt, holy shit. Changed my mind
Mhm.
entirely. I even liked him in Enola Holmes. That's actually a film you might like. It's like
Yeah.
an hour and a
It had my
half.
attention.
Sorry?
So it had caught my attention, but I haven't seen it.
I've
I did
seen it.
notice it was an hour and a half, and I thought, oh, that could be worth watching.
Yes. It's like an hour and a half, and it's obviously, it's actually based on a set of comic books and books about Sherlock's little sister. And
Oh,
I actually sit down and watch that in the whole sitting because it kept my attention. The acting in it was really good. And again,
cool.
Henry Cavill makes a fabulous and gorgeous Sherlock Holmes.
Mm.
And Helena Bonham Carter is in it, and Millie Bobby Brown. It's so good.
Nice, nice.
And they pepper in like bits of somewhat lefty politics. So like Mycroft is a miserable conservative bastard, but their mother is a suffragist. And that's like a huge key to the story, is the fact that their mother is a suffragist. It's really, I really enjoyed it, genuinely.
Nice.
And
I'll have to add it to my list of things that I hope to eventually get myself to bite off on.
I do that. I have a list like a mile long, and then I never feel like watching anything on the damn thing.
And then what I will do is I will just be idly reading stuff online, read about Green Inferno, hear how terrible it is, and then think, right,
I have to watch that. It's crap. And I will need to see if it's the right kind of crap.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. I did it with The Room. I've watched The Room now 5 or 6 times just because it's hot garbage.
The Room is one of those films where you can watch it first and be bemused and astounded and laughing, but it's got infinite rewatch potential depending on how many people you can show it to and vicariously live through their reactions to it. There are a couple of films. I mean, Troll 2 is one of the most famous ones there. The Miami Connection is one I want to watch with more people. I want to make more people watch that one.
I've never actually seen that.
Miami Connection is something else. It's about a band. It's a high school band, except it's clearly played by 30 to 40-year-olds who
Is that one of those
sing
things,
songs.
Is that one of those things I should do like a Discord watch party for?
I mean, I could recommend it. It's this high school band of 30 to 40 somethings who sing songs about friendship and how against a ninja they are. And are also involved with feuding with actual ninja and also drug dealing bikers. And there's a subplot about a character. I won't spoil too much, but it's a subplot between a character and a father and their father, who it only happens in one scene, and it's so dramatic, and then it's resolved in like a few seconds later in the film by the time you've forgotten about it. And then there's this sudden mood shift in the final act where it just goes off the rails. I can highly recommend it.
It goes more off the rails?
Oh, you would, watching it, there's no way you'd be able to predict. It's one of those things where once you've seen it, you're like, okay, on reflection, about an hour after I've seen it, it makes some sort of sense, but you couldn't see it coming from the other way. Treasure of the Four Crowns is another good one as well. And Conrad watched that for a spin-off Doctors podcast once.
Dear.
It was a birthday present to me because it wasn't game related.
I do watch a lot, an awful lot. The Mighty Boosh. I know there's moments in it that are super yikes.
Course,
but it's something
is, yeah.
I keep going back to because it's so funny and ridiculous.
A lot of people will say it didn't age so well these days, like overall, not even just the dated jokes, but overall its entire humor. But I disagree. I rewatched the series last year.
I mean, there's
still
some
just
sexism
absolutely
and blackface and brownface.
Yeah, they're a definite. It's basically, if it's old and from the UK, I mean, if it's old in general, then there's going to be issues. I mean, you know, I've got a laundry list of fucked up material from my career.
I mean, look at Monty Python now.
Sure, yeah.
It's so yikes now.
And that's true of any UK comedy, especially when it comes to you know, transphobic humour, which is partly what I attribute the turfism in the UK to.
Oh yeah,
is how culturally, you know, man in dress, ha ha.
Well, we were used to Terry Jones, weren't we?
Baked in, yeah. I mean, it was a staple of so many comedians.
I still have that sketch from Monty Python's, I think it was The Flying Circus, with the penguin on top of the telly, and John Cleese and Graham Chapman, I think it was Graham Chapman, were sat on the sofa talking about how this penguin is on the television. And it might have come from the zoo. You know, the whole thing. And they're in dresses and doing these really shrill, shrieky, high voices. And it's hilarious. But it's yikes.
Yeah. And I've always had a strange relationship with that. Because yeah, I used to laugh at that, but also there was something more to it for me. I always grew up wanting to be a performer of some kind, and I would see that and I would want to do that. And again, it's just one of those things looking back that was flagging up the eventual revelation and everything. And one of the most interesting examples I give, because there is so much yikes tied into it. And I was thinking about this a lot as I rewatched the series a few months back, was I recently rewatched LOLO, which is one of my favorite comedies ever.
I love it, but oh no. Good
Yeah.
moaning.
It's genius. It's known nowadays just for the catchphrases and the sex humor and just the fact that it gets bitten off as a show that's only 10% original material because the rest is catchphrases. But it's such an injustice because that show is so complicated and intricately written, but also in a way to where you don't have to watch it from the beginning. You can pick up any episode and it will tell you, here's where the paintings are hidden. Here's who's trying to escape the Gestapo. Here's it would set it up, but it was, if you followed it, the farcical situations were so brilliantly written.
And it was simultaneously both sexist and feminist at the same time. It was, yes, women sleeper agents, but they have to honeypot. It was really weird.
That brings me to the weird, progressive / issue-laden relationship I have with LOLO. And that comes in the form of the character of Lieutenant Gruber, who is my favorite character on the show, despite the fact the majority of it is nothing but a gay joke. It's nothing but the joke of he fancies the main character, Renee. That's it. And the rest is, lots of innuendo and that. The thing is, that show aired almost around the time I was born, and my mom loved it. And there's never been a time in my life where that show's not been on. So for a lot of my life, Lieutenant Gruber is the only gay character I really knew and had known from the very beginning, especially in a culture where a lot of this stuff wasn't shown. So I naturally gravitate to, camp characters, flamboyant characters, gay characters. It's always led to an odd issue I have with a lot of queer-coded villains, for the fact that I recognize that's an issue, that's always the way they're presented. But I also love playing villains in things. I'm a heel, of course. So it's always still been something I've really identified with in some way. So when it comes to Gruber, he was someone I identified with from that perspective.
There is also the streak of racism there too, though, right? Because with anything that depicted Nazis, it was always the very gay German accent. It was always the very high pitched. It was always very flamboyant and gay. And my other half's family are German. They hate it. They genuinely hate it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll do a German accent and it will come out like that. It will be the gay German because that's what I've grown up hearing as German. And he will look at me like I've got 4 heads in just sheer disgust.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's LOLO is there's a lot to praise about it, but it is an old show, and it's 80s. It's an 80s comedy with a lot of 70s comedy sensibilities, so it's going to be full of all sorts of problems. Yeah, like rewatching it as well, it struck me how not, even though he's a walking gay joke, just how sympathetic Gruber is, to the point where he's possibly the only sympathetic character on the show. The way they portray him, they actually give him a lot more depth than the other characters. I don't think any character has a backstory except him. He was a war hero. And they sort of talk about that, and sort of the fact that he's still a lieutenant, and they delve into this. He's the only one willing really to help the resistance, despite being a German officer. But then that's that other issue, is you point at a show and say, this is a character I identified with, this is a character that had a positive impact on me, and is also a Nazi officer in occupied France.
We also had Are You Being Served as well. I mean, I still randomly say, Captain Peacock, are you free?
Yeah.
I did identify a lot with Mr. Humphreys. The very gay blonde. Which is weird, because I'm not a gay man. But he was so... I don't even know how to put it. He was so comfortable with himself and so happy to put down homophobes even in the show in like jokey ways, and to dunk, that it was like, yes, no, that, I want to do that. I want to be like that. That's me. That. You know? Even when there were like yikesy gay jokes made and stuff, it was always something to laugh about. The yes, he is, and he's happy with it, so he can make fun of it. No other fucker can.
Plus, it really was all we had growing up, so there is going to be some strange connection to some of these characters, So that's why I've got that strange sort of relationship with Aloha Low and with that character, and that's that runs through a lot of material, a lot of media is identifying with that character, even if that character's presented in a problematic way. One example is Deadly Premonition, and obviously Deadly Premonition 2 has unfortunately recontextualized a lot of stuff.
I have seen neither of those things.
Okay. But basically there's a queer-coded villain in the first Deadly Premonition who is presented as wearing women's clothes and being very camp and unhinged and all of this. And again, it's got that weird thing with me in that I like to wear dresses. I am obviously queer as hell and very flamboyant and camp, and a heel in terms of characters and stuff I portray. So there was, and I feel this way about so many characters, is wanting to have some element of that in the stuff I do. And I was actually talking about this with some people in the wrestling business who were actually making my new Pan Pride mask, which I can't wait to show people. But I was talking about being so sort of openly queer while also playing a career villain in wrestling, and how best to demonstrate that these two things are not informing the other, even though they've been so intricately, not intrinsically linked by the rest of media.
Coincidence and correlation, not causation.
Exactly.
That's that bothers me.
If the gayness is informing anything, it's only the fabulousness of the villainy, not the villainy itself.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of difference I want to kind of draw. I'm in a lucky position here in the Northeast where wrestling's getting really gay up here. I've been doing a lot of work with MV Young, who's an open pansexual, and did a show with Still Life on it. That was the last one I did, and the entire yard the place took place in had been completely painted in pan pride colors and all of this. So it's easier to be a heel in that situation.
Mhm.
Although hats off to David Lawless, who goes out there and plays a lawyer who wants to reach across the aisle to the left-leaning faces. He's very good at his job.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that always annoyed me particularly about cinema, right? It was twofold. One, if you like were male presenting and wore dresses and wigs and what have you, you were a psychopathic serial killer. And usually a rapist too. Bit cringe.
Yeah.
If you were a woman who was into women, you were probably a killer and a some sort of femme fatale honey potter. You know, if there's also like the queer baiting as well, which is like, we're gonna queer code and queer code and queer code, and maybe these two characters are together and maybe they're not and maybe they are, and like never clarifying it. So trying to like use something to draw the queer audience in and then just going, yeah, no, we're just gonna give you queer balls now, fuck it.
Yeah.
It annoys the shit out of me.
Sure.
That's another one actually who talks about that sort of stuff a lot. So she's an asexual lesbian who actually is UK based. Her name is Rowan Ellis, and she goes into like the history of queer coding and queer baiting and spends quite a lot of her time preaching trans rights and yelling about queer coding and queer baiting in cinema and TV shows, and how trans people should play trans people, and so on and so on. She's wonderful. She's really sweet and wholesome as well. She permanently has like this really soft pale blue hair that she has like tied into these like kid star pigtails down like her back, and it's just really adorable because she's got the little block fringe as well, so she always makes you feel really comfortable immediately.
Yeah.
Every time my damn alerts go off, I jump. You think I'd be used to it by now? I've been streaming since May.
Yeah, I had to turn the sounds and stuff off. They
Scared the shit out of you every time they went off?
you get too much, yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, I'm quite small still, so I don't get like a lot of them often. And one of the things I like is that you can make the sound whatever you want. I just haven't figured out how to do that yet. But I will eventually change up all my sounds and everything. I just can't be asked.
Yeah, I have to go crying to Conrad when I need things sorted out for streaming and getting effects and anything more complicated than pressing one button.
I figured most of it out myself just because I didn't have anybody to turn to for help.
Yeah, I need to learn to do that. I have my moments of self-sufficiency, but it gets too easy for me to flail about and flop like a fish and hope some passing Samaritan takes pity on me.
Well, if you ever get stuck because Comrade's ill or something, you can always drop me a message if you need help with anything.
No worries. Although I doubt Becky would let me go without anything for a second.
Yeah, that's true. Unless they both end up ill to some weird twist of fate that would be your worst luck. With the luck you have had with technology, it wouldn't surprise me if you had that luck with help as well.
Don't get me started on my luck. The way my life works is it actually behaves like a curse. It actually behaves like a curse.
Mood.
Like the things that break and go wrong and just don't work. To the point where I regularly have issues that other people have, like experts have never seen or heard of before. We're trying to fix certain things. Just moving from Mississippi to Philadelphia was just such a hassle, and again, just like a curse. Like I explicitly decide to move out of a shithole like I was in Mississippi and end up in a place that is twice as expensive, looks nice, but actually has all of the other issues, plus some other ones that really trigger my mental issues, like the fact that you could hear everyone else in the building,
Oh
and
no.
therefore that sets off my paranoia I have about always being heard and listened to and hated and everything.
Yeah.
I've got a fear of cockroaches
Ugh.
and
Yeah.
rats. And the first week I moved into my house in Jackson, the roaches turned up.
Oh no.
There was a big water trapping basement, so they were a constant threat. And then in the last week before I moved to Philadelphia, Justin says it was a mouse. It looked like a fucking rat to me, but it turned up and it was scurrying all over the place. And
This is why I own cats.
yeah, I mean, if Bartleby had been there, we were swapping, sort of had joint custody of the dog when I was still in Mississippi. If he'd have been there, hopefully he'd have done something. But it was me against the rat because it was so close to going, and I was packing stuff up, and you never knew when that thing would come and terrify me. It's just the amount of things that happen to me are so perfectly tailored to getting in my way, to the point where it's like,
You end
is
up
this
convinced
by
the universe is
design?
against you, yeah. I end up feeling exactly the same way about a lot of things, because I have things like that, it's just one thing after the other that seems to be purposefully directed at fucking me off or getting in the way.
Yeah.
Really? I have got a question myself and one from chat, if you don't mind. We'll get to the one from chat first. How many takes did Jim do to get the baby talk in the apolitical video? Because it was hilarious.
I think it was just the once, maybe. I mean, I don't necessarily do full takes. I tend to do is if I'll keep recording, and then if I mess up, I'll go back and redo it really quickly. But I think with that, again, it's hard to, because everything I do is a blur most of the time, especially stuff that's more automatic, like recording. But I think I just did it the once. I think that's why I left that bit in the middle where I sort of pause to take stock of what it is I'm doing halfway through. Because I thought adding that little bit of corpse in would make it work better. So yeah, I think it was just the once.
Okay, yeah. Well,
I try to do everything in as few takes as possible. I get really annoyed if something has to be done. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I would too. I don't have the patience for that shit. Again, this is why I stream.
It was the same with a lot of the stuff on this week's Gymquisition, like the unboxing video was, most of it was one take, except for like the early bits where we were doing our own cuts, but everything as filmed was just on the fly. And that's how I like to do it. I don't like to be too strict and rigid with stuff. I like to just turn the camera on and then just go and just improv it. Because I think in general, that's where I'm at my best.
Yeah, whereas, see, that's where you and I differ slightly. I'm very meticulous. I can improv, as proven by the fact that I stream. But with planning particularly, I'm very meticulous. And I panic if I'm not. Because I also have like an anxiety disorder and I'm autistic. So if I'm not like really specific with planning and stuff, I end up forgetting a lot of the time, or I'll start getting paranoid that whoever I've sorted something out with or my chat will forget that I've announced something, or whatever, and it'll just be this thing going over and over in my brain, and then I don't sleep for a week.
Right, yeah.
But we all have something, don't we?
Absolutely.
Did you, and you don't have to answer this if you're not comfortable doing so, as with any questions, did you come out to your ex-wife before you left Mississippi?
No. Because I it's not something I fully embraced and you know, really, I still had to come out to myself, which I've only really fully done this year.
Okay.
And we split quite some time ago. I did speak to her after, because we're still really good friends, so we talk
That's
all the
good.
time. And when I told her, she said, I figured, like she already, like, it made sense when I
Yeah.
told her. So yeah. And at the time, and she'd even asked, she said, did you ever feel like I wouldn't have been cool with it if you'd have done so at the time? And she would have been cool. I know she would have been fine with it. In fact, I think it would have made certain elements of the relationship go a lot smoother. Um, but God, what was I going to say just then? Yeah. But yeah, my answer was more, I just don't think I'd have had the room to. I think I'd have just kept trying to plug away at that role I wasn't suited to, and I would never have the sense of freedom and space to explore this stuff.
That's one thing my partner's been really good with, is like the hands off, giving me space to explore my own gender. And he actually bought me my first men's clothes when I requested them.
That's lovely. That's great.
It was, I don't want to go into the city because there's a pandemic and I'm terrified of crowds at the moment. I can't leave my house. I'm agoraphobic since the start of the pandemic. Well, just
Sure.
before. And I really wanted, like, because it was starting to get cold, I really wanted some, like, chunky granddad sweaters. And he came home with 2 or 3 of them.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's great. That's great to have that support there.
Yeah, that was the first, like, these are mine men's clothes. I mean, he still nicks them, but it was it was a lot in terms of making me feel comfortable enough to explore it further. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Like, if I didn't have the if I didn't have him and his support, I would not have had the courage, I think, to explore it as thoroughly as I have. I've gone from having hair that was just longer than my shoulders and my normal red ginger to this, which is like full blown undercut the whole way around. It's blue underneath and it's like blue black on top.
Very good. It looks
For now.
very good.
Thank you. Yeah, it took a lot of effort. I need to touch the blue up. It's a bit faded, the bottom, as bright colours tend to. But
Yeah,
like,
my hair situation is a whole deal. Like, my dad, from what I remember of him, went bald really early. So I knew it was coming, and for most of my life was ready for it.
I can send you links for brightly coloured wigs that will make you very happy.
Well, I've got some stuff. I've got some wigs. They've got the lace and stuff. I've just been scared to botch it. So
They're
I've not
so
tried those
hard to
ones.
botch.
Yeah.
They are genuinely really hard to botch. So if you've got one that is like a lace front, you just need a small little wig cap. Unless your hair is like basically not there at all, and even then you can just like slot it on and it'll stay because it'll catch against either your skin or the wig cap so it doesn't move. They're so hard to botch. I used to have one when I did sex work because I would change wigs out and stuff depending on what clients wanted. I had this one that was down to my backside, block fringe, and it was like a wavy, bright purple, bright blue and pink kind of woven together in like shades. And it was one of the most glorious things I have ever seen in my life. And I wish I hadn't left it behind when I moved.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been an interesting aspect of everything is the hair because I was comfortable with it. I was happy enough with it, knowing it was going to go. And then during lockdown in the first months, I was like, screw it, I'll just completely shave it, and was pretty cool with that. But then as I talked about earlier with the post coming out dysphoria setting in, it became an issue for me. And that's why Curio's videos have been good, because they actually explicitly talk about the exact same kind of hair issues. I'm actually seeing what will happen if I actually grow it out, because I've never really gone. I tried to go in that direction a long time ago, and probably should have kept it up. But we'll see how it goes.
I'm always too impatient to let my hair grow for long. I want to get it long again, but then it'll get so far and I'm like, right, I'm sick of looking after it. Chop off. The kids pull it a lot as well. It just gets in the way. Fuck it.
I always considered it more fuss than it was worth, but then I considered clothes more fuss than they were worth. Like, there's so much I considered more fuss than it was worth until recently, after the coming out, where now I'm like, Jesus Christ, I didn't realize how much maintenance there is to actually looking like you give a shit about yourself, because you actually give a shit about yourself.
This took me an hour and a half. I understand. Do you mind if I just leave you with chat for a second so I can pop to the bathroom super quick?
Sure.
Thank you. Sorry, too much caffeine.
No worries. Well, no, that said, I should be pushing off sometime soonish. I've barely had any time with the PS5. Been messing around with insurance stuff all day today. Should have been a half-hour job, but again, thanks to my curse, it took all of the morning. There's a 9 o'clock phone call expected to be done at 9:30, but then whole bunch of extra issues that were flagged up for me for no reason. We can't validate this, we can't verify this, and I'm like, you should. You've got all the information. So that was most of my day. Then before I come on here, I tried to just concentrate and do something. Got a bit of PS5 time in. That's probably what I'll do after this. Just try and get some time in and then talk a bit more about it on Podquisition, because Laura's not stuck talking about it all on her own. So I played a bit of Demon's Souls. As I mentioned earlier, I liked that I could make a non-binary. Actually, did I even mention that? I think I forgot to mention it. But being able to make a non-binary character in Demon's Souls was quite cool. Played a bit of that Godfall as well. Seems okay. What's next is horrifying.
You sound so enthused.
Oh, this is my when I'm left alone with chat voice. I often, especially if I'm on someone else's stream and I'm left alone, I'll slip into this really I don't know why, but I'll slip into this really disaffected, quiet voice. I'll do it on like Patreon podcasts where it's just me as well. I don't do it on streams for some reason. I'm way more active then, but I guess I've got the chat to interact with. But apparently when I'm on other people's things or really on my own with something, we'll just slip into the voice that sounds like I really don't care.
Well, you could have interacted with chat. That's fine.
Yeah, I could have, but then I didn't. I ended up just. Once I get caught in the voice, I've just got to see it through. It's got to run its course. I just dispassionately describe things in the most mundane way possible.
I'm convinced that's a British thing, to be honest, because my other half does exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Did you have any more questions that Becky sent you that you'd like to ask? Because I don't know how long you want to hang out for or whatever.
I would say, and I should probably push off in the next 10 minutes or so, like 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I am happy to work around you, so no big.
Sure. One that was suggested was, other than socialised healthcare, is there anything else you think the UK has that the US should, or indeed the other way around?
So the UK needs better access to trans healthcare, much like the US has.
Yeah, absolutely.
The US needs a proper welfare state.
Mm-hmm.
Genuinely, like, the best way that the US could have made it through COVID was to institute a proper welfare state or a decent UBI, a furlough scheme, so they paid a percentage of the workers' wages, much like the UK have done, and a massive national fucking lockdown for 2 months.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Instead, people got, I think it was like maybe $1,200, like a little over a grand, near the beginning
For
of the
8 months.
pandemic, and nothing else. Yeah.
Although wasn't Biden talking about bringing in another
I think
stimulus
that's going to
check?
be his first day. One of his very first executive orders is a new package to help
I should
help
fucking hope
folks
so.
out. I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's a lot to sort of view. There's a lot about Biden to where you've got to view him as something of the monkey's paw, quote unquote, happy ending to a lot of like Trump's reign and 2020 stuff. Like, it's just the perfect 2020 victory of yay, we got rid of Trump and we used Biden for it.
Yeah, I
But
mean, what I see happening over the next 4 years, if Biden doesn't really pull his finger out and move towards the progressives and like work with the progressives, is an even worse Trump in 4 years' time.
yes, that is my biggest fear is
Trump but competent.
Biden underwhelming everyone to the point where Trump gets back in.
I don't even think Trump will
But
run again. I don't think his health will take it. I think you will get a
maybe,
Trump but competent. That's my
right,
worry.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can see the ones who are eyeing it up.
Oh yeah.
You can see the ones who want in there. Cruz being the hungriest one, little Grima worm tongue that he is.
Yes, but at least he's not a full-on
Yeah,
fascist.
yeah. And that's the thing about Biden that I was getting at was like at least he believes in science. He believes that science is real, and he believes that COVID is real. And mind you, Trump does believe all this stuff. He's throwing lives into the thresher for his own profile. But at least we've got someone who, just hearing Biden's speech after he won and just getting a normal, boring speech. There is something of a relief in that. The only risk is to not be so relieved by normality that you forget that normal, as we understand it, is why we got in this mess in the first place. For
Yeah.
right now, just this little bit, I'm happy that next year we'll have a president who believes that COVID should be dealt with. That's something.
Yeah.
The only issue is worrying about how much Trump can wreck before then. Like, he's already denying Biden crucial information that he would need to effectively deal with this.
Oh
So,
yeah, he's throwing an enormous tantrum.
there are going to be more sacrifices to the altar of Trump, unfortunately. We just got to hope that the orders that Biden wants to sign will actually go through without any major damage being done to the country to where they won't even help.
Yeah. I keep having to tell people we are not going back to brunch. Genuinely, because this is just, if we don't keep fighting and pushing him to the left, because like he's soft enough to push, and so is Harris. Harris has flip-flopped enough times that makes me think she's soft enough to push. If we don't work with the progressive side of the Democrat Party to push them left, we are going to have fucking Mussolini Mark IV.
Yeah, I mean, we'll say like I think the biggest issue with the establishment Dems is it's not even that they are against. I don't think they'd be against flip-flopping for this, but I think they answer to lobbyists and corporations who don't want the boat rocked that much. And I think that's something that's going to be just impossible to shake. I don't think it's so much about convincing many establishment Dems of the worth of this stuff. I mean, there's definitely a lot of that. But when it comes to the people who can make differences, I think they are looking out for a different person. They're looking out for a different strata of person who societally is considered rungs above almost everyone.
You know what I think the UK and US both need? A completely overhauled voting system. No more first past the post. Kick it the fuck
That'd
out.
be nice. Yeah.
Also get rid of the Electoral College. And the monarchy.
It's a complete mess. Yeah.
I am very radically left-wing, can you tell?
I'm picking it up.
Yeah, no, full-on anarcho-socialist. This is why politics is my wheelhouse. Because I'm like, yes, no, this is me. I am you know.
Mhm.
Fuck corporations. Also, ANCAPs
Oh, yeah.
are bad. Was there any
And
more
it's just,
Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, it's just hard not to be. The more you
Mm.
look at this shit, and the more you see needs to be done. You know, the me of 10 years ago wouldn't believe the stuff I talk about now, and have an interest in now. Yeah, it's I hate the electoral college.
Yup. 10 years ago, I was 17. I had no interest in fucking politics. I was bloody off my nut on both meth, weed, and alcohol pretty much constantly. I ended up self-medicating with meth, my ADHD, that I didn't know I had until I was in my early 20s. Yeah, not fun. But yeah, no, that's what I was doing. I was working, I was experimenting with drugs and alcohol, and I was having sex. That's what a 17-year-old does.
Well, every 17-year-old, I sort of sat around.
Okay, it's what a lot of 17-year-olds do. Yeah, like 10 years ago, I wouldn't have given a shit. I wouldn't have known what a fucking socialist was, never mind
Yeah.
how to fix the problems in the political system, right? Like, I didn't even know 10 years ago how the Electoral College functioned. Or why the Supreme Court
I
was a
didn't
thing.
fully understand it until this last election, where I actually made a concerted effort to like sit and watch all this unfold, and I actually, paid proper attention that night,
I
and was
paid
like,
attention
okay,
for
I
3 days.
finally have the hang of how this works.
I paid attention for about 3 or 4 days, and I barely slept throughout the whole thing, just watching the numbers going, oh no, oh no.
I keep putting it on throughout the day, and then get really bored. I'd be like, okay, because I always wanted to see a number shift. I was like, if I keep watching, something's going to shift. I'll get to see something flip or something.
And then a watch pot never
did.
boils. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were there any more questions on that little Hoojaman floppy? Yes, that is the technical term.
What we got? Okay, what? I guess this is more of a personal one, but what is the one common myth that you want to debunk?
Ooh. Okay, so clarify for me. Do you mean about me, about trans people in general?
I don't know. It was kind of left open-ended. So I guess whichever way you want to answer it.
That Andrew Wakefield
everyone
is in
can be
any way, shape, or form a legitimate doctor?
I'm trying to work out if I know who Andrew Wakefield is.
Andrew Wakefield was the doctor at the time that wrote the paper that stated that autism was linked to the MMR vaccine.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Right.
So that that he is in any way a legitimate doctor anymore, because that research paper was deeply fudged, as I'm sure you know, because he messed with a load of the data to the point where he lost his license to practice medicine.
Yeah.
So that would definitely be...
Once the paper's out there, people just start waving that shit about.
Mm-hmm. It's like, no, that's been debunked like 780 majillion times. Stop. But they don't listen, because the paper was written in the first place. That man has done so much harm. So much. That and the Red Scare shit. That's the other thing. That communism bad because Red Scare.
Yeah.
All that shit as well. That get rid of it. Out.
Just this idea in general that capitalism is inherently less exploitative than any other system that you could point to.
It's literally inherently exploitative. That is how it is made. It is created to exploit the working class. That is what it is for. Oy vey.
The amount of people that just think that their lives will get worse if they have access to healthcare.
How is that a thing? How does anybody think that healthcare equals bad? Like, what is...
I mean, it comes down to that thing of there are two issues. Like, one is, of course, they'd love it for themselves, but not for anyone who isn't like them. Like, they don't want black people to have access to it. They certainly wouldn't want, a trans person to have access to gender affirming treatment. And the other one is, and was a big problem the South, where I was that issue. Is that phrase that so many people see themselves as temporarily embarrassed millionaires.
Oh,
So
God, yeah,
many
they do.
people think they're gonna be the next big success. They think they're gonna be, a lot of people view Trump not just as this godly figure, but as representing the lifestyle that they envision for themselves. And so many of them believe in the great American lie that is, you can just work and be a success. And that's all there is to it. They're convinced that one day they're going to be in the upper echelon that's going to get taxed to fuck.
It should not be that difficult to go, there is proof that you do not live in a meritocracy. Donald Trump, Dave Rubin, Steven Crowder. That should be enough to debunk that theory, but it is not.
I mean, just the amount of people that believe in that just world fallacy, that idea that everyone gets what they deserve. And there's just so much evidence to the contrary that we live in anything other than a world that is at best indifferent, because good and bad things will happen to anyone, and it doesn't. I mean, just look at COVID. It doesn't care who's good and who's bad. But there's this thing in America that and then many other places that says anyone suffering deserves it. Anyone who's poor was lazy. Anyone who gets into an accident, anyone who can't afford treatment should get more than one job, even though many of them already do, and it's not enough to pay rent. It's not enough for medical treatment. But it's so ingrained into America that
Sorry, well, my other half's
if
playing.
you work, you will succeed, and if you don't succeed, it's because you didn't work. It's because you didn't want it. It's because you didn't pull yourself up by those proverbial bootstraps. And people need to get out of that mindset, because they're hurting themselves. They're killing themselves of a misguided belief that their lives will be better.
Oh yeah, bootstrap theory winds me the fuck up. One of my favourite things to say when like pro-capitalist trolls come in chat is, alright, stop, take a breath, pick your brain up off the floor, you've let it dribble out your ears again.
Yeah.
Just, they don't know how to engage them, their brains. They have no idea.
I've got very little patience for it now. I've just, it's why some of my videos of late are a little more antagonistic. It's like, I've done reasonable. I've done a lot of reasonable. Anyone who's not getting it now doesn't want to get it. Screw them. And that's, say that, I still every now and then still try and make a point, but I just don't have the patience for a lot of them. Especially when it's on, if someone comes onto my Twitch channel and tries to start some shit, I will just go out of my way to let them know exactly how laughable their presence is and how unwelcome they are before we kick them out. And just so, other people can see that we're not at home to that shit. And again, it's another reason why I don't fear TERFs, because I don't pay attention to what they say. They can't affect me in any way. They can't get me fired. They can't help me to anyone. I'm as out there as can be, and not alone. I have an audience. I have a good support network. They can't isolate me and terrify me. With my complete lack of patience for them, I take full advantage of that. And not in a way where I'm trying to change minds, because these people are in a cult now, and a very dangerous one. If they're wasting their energies on me, anyone wasting that time isn't using it on someone who isn't in as fortunate a position as me. So a lot of people just like to see someone who they can't hold anything over tell them to shut up.
It's also like I think a lot of it is like fake bravado from hiding behind a screen, right?
Sure, yeah.
You can't identify me, you don't know who I am. I can post whatever the fuck I want to make you feel like shit, and you
Yeah.
have no way to get back at me personally.
Because they know just by your very identity what can hurt you. Which again is why I go out of my way to not let it hurt me. Because I've been mocked for my appearance for my entire life. One bit of advice I always got was if someone's making fun of your appearance, they probably don't want to bang you. And if they don't want to bang you, it doesn't really matter what they think about your appearance because it's not like they're banging you. You know, it's like, well, if you already find me unattractive, it doesn't really matter what you say beyond that point, is it? Because
My mum always told me if they mock your appearance, it's because they're too uncreative to come up with anything else.
well, I mean, there is that too. Like, you know, anyone can yell fat at me, and it's like that doesn't really refute anything, does it?
That's one thing
No.
I do a lot when trolls come in and start slagging off how I look. It's be more fucking original. Come on. At least engage your brain a little bit. Try and be creative for once.
I found an old comment I did that had been thrown up on Facebook where someone said Jim Sterling is fat and gay, and I just replied, "Yep." It's just a description. But I really should be pushing off now. Lovely as it has been. In fact, I was actually surprised by the time. Yeah, I need to get some. I need to have a proper bloody lie down day I've had. But I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for coming. You have no idea how excited a load of my friends and chatters have been to hear you talk.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
That's something you've got a lot of is queer socialist fans.
And then that's what I'm. This is part of the reason why I don't worry so much about some of the things I used to worry about in my career, like growing my audience and you know, having some big influential channel and that. It's not where my interest is anymore. It's in making games media and wrestling be as gay as humanly possible. That's where my effort is now, is sort of having a platform where people feel comfortable being themselves, and it's very focused on supporting people all across the spectrum there. So yeah, I'm glad that I've got that chance to focus now on just that element.
I am too, because it is nice to have someone that's bigger and more public than me, be as wacky and queer as I am, and still be accepted. Do you know what I mean? Even though I've been like out like longer than you have, it's still nice to see someone like recently out who is bigger than me getting such a warm reception for it when I've been so terrified of the reception I'd get.
And you know, I've gotten some shit, and I know that there are communities that I don't go to. I know without even looking what's being said about me. I can just tell. I mean, it's not original. You know, it's what they say about anyone. But my community in general has been really supportive of it, and again, I think part of it is the way the Jimquisition worked. It was like a lot of these people have seen me for years. There were quite a few people who were not surprised when I came out as non-binary, just from watching my work. It's one of those things where I think a lot of people have watched me evolve and therefore have become more acclimated to it, to where there were a lot more people more comfortable in being supportive and more understanding. And you know, even if I've only done a little bit of that in the grand cosmic scheme of things, that makes the career worthwhile. I know that a lot of my work has helped some people come out and either as gay, bi, pan, or trans of some kind, or non-binary. All of these things, a a lot of people have found help with my conversations with Laura and stuff like that, and what I've been doing on the Gymquisition lately, and a lot of the stuff I tweet about, and just with how queer oriented the streams I do are now. And you know, that's become the best bit of the job, really, is knowing that no matter what else happens, I've helped people have that exposure to representation and visibility that I didn't have. I think that's so important, is hard as it is for the next generation of our people, you know, glad that they can have access to some community, even if it's just online.
Yeah.
Just so that it wasn't like it was at school for me, where there were clearly so many people having struggles, but because everyone was a little island, no one knew or could help or anything. So that'll be the thing I'll be most proud of in my career.
Yeah, see, I knew, like, I could tell that, yeah, you were openly pan and everything, great. But, I mean, I had an inkling that you weren't quite cis. But I didn't know, like, what form that took or what form it would take, or if you were comfortable coming out or anything else, like, you know. And then when you did, I was so proud of you. I saw you come out on one of your videos, I think, and I actually stood there and, like, applauded, because I was just so pleased for you.
Thank you. It was a staggered coming out. In fact, the first person to even publicly have me come out was Ollie, Philosophy Tube, who congratulated me on coming out as gender trash and everything.
I love Philosophy Tube so much.
Yeah, I mean, he did that wonderful complimentary video on my work, which
I've seen it and
so nice.
adored it. And he got the costume almost down exactly as well.
Yes, the
attention to detail was marvelous. Did you see that?
I should say Ollie checked first before he brought it up publicly.
I assumed
you know, it might as well be through you.
I assumed he would, because he's the kind of guy to do so. He wouldn't just, like, out you. Have you seen that?
It was done that way, and then I did it a little bit on Twitter. Then it was little hints here and there on the Gymquisition, until I was eventually comfortable just saying fuck it. And then I only allowed myself to refer to myself as trans today on the subject of the things I say I disallow myself from.
Well, if it's any help,
that was good.
Any amount of trans, even if it's 0.0001%, you are trans enough. I don't care what that's...
And that's something I keep trying to remember and appreciate, you know.
I don't care what that little voice in your head says. Mine says the same thing. You are trans enough. Everybody who identifies that way is trans enough. What matters is that you identify as it, not people are gatekeeping it.
Which is good to remember. It's good to remember. I did have someone disown me after this, who actually was trans and very who didn't believe in trans enough, I'll say.
A trans medicalist.
So it's good to just remember that there is an actual support network out there.
And you know where I am now. You can always just hit me up if you need. Even if you need, like, reaffirmation because your head's been telling you you're not trans enough all day. You know? I have no problem just being an ear if it's needed, because I've been through a lot of the same things you're going through, and you've been through a lot of the same things I'm going through. So, you know.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's been a really nice stream, very laid back, very... Yeah, good to have a nice, earnest chat, you know?
We're pretty chill here, and I would absolutely love to do this again at some point in the future.
Yeah. Well, I'll see when, you know, I don't know when, but I'll see when I've got some free time. Yeah,
just anyone is fine. Let me know. And thank you again very much for coming. I've really enjoyed our chat.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Bye, Jim. Have a good one.
Bye.
Okay, chat. I will be right back. I just need to help the other half with a thing. Tell me in chat what you thought of that while I go do that. There we go. Do any of you have questions for me just before I head out? And also, if there are any subs or gift subs or bits or donos in chat, they would be greatly useful because I use them for my bills. I'm well, thank you, Anahata. Anahata? Anna? I don't know what you'd prefer to go by, but tell me, I guess. I don't know. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Countermeasures. And thank you all new followers and subbers and everything. We are going to be raiding out shortly just because it's 11:15 here and I am shattered. Yeah, if there are any questions you want to ask me or any donos or bits or anything else, please drop my drop them in chat or whatever. Yeah. I'm glad you liked it, Wendell. Hey, thank you for the subscription with your Prime. I am thoroughly humbled and appreciative. I love me them Bezos bucks.
Takes a while to clean the slime off them though.
Thanks. Okay. Let's see. Do y'all want games or queerness or... Holy bananas. Thank you very much, Wendell. I'm sure Aronok will enjoy that. Okay, do y'all want games or queerness and conversation and art or politics? What would you like? I know. I have a trans friend with only 5 viewers. I think we'll go in there. Let me open Twitch so I can say hello. Her name is Catherine. She's wonderful. She's a trans woman. Really good friend of mine. Basically my sister. So please show her some love with me and for me. Because she is very much worth it. This is actually one of the people I will be recommending to Jim because she is brilliant and so knowledgeable. Okay, let's get in the raid. Do 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 in the raid. Do 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 raid 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 raid. Come on, there's 11 more people in here that are supposed to be getting into this raid. Raid. Let's go in the raid. Okay. Thank you all for coming. I will see you all later. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. And thank you again, Jim, for the conversation. It was wonderful. Much love and see you next time.